Perfect, thank you.
Right.
Hey guys, how's it going? Well, we had a great start to the day. I do intend on doing some planting, and I want to give you an update on a few things going on out in the garden. But first thing this morning, we had a truck show up from Eisley Nursery, and they dropped off several beautiful plants, and I want to walk you through each one of them. They start here. Look at the beautiful evergreens. Oh my goodness. And that birch. Getting this load honestly couldn't have happened at a better time, because you guys know we've been gathering things for our pond project, which is going to happen in the week after next. And it'll be so nice to have all of these gorgeous evergreens to choose from as well. And I've talked about Eisley Nursery lots of times. My parents have been carrying their plants forever. They're growers, wholesalers, and they ship, I think, all the way across the country. But their stuff, whenever a load shows up at the garden center, things fly out the door, because they're more specimen type plants. They're not like the standard varieties that you see everywhere. These are things that have a more special growth habit or have a more uniqueness about them. And they just have some really neat plants. They're actually out of Oregon. So Boring, Oregon is the town that they're out of. And I'm just so thankful that they sent these out. So thank you, Eisley. So let's walk through these. I'll try to give you as much detail as possible. You will see these show up though in future videos, and it's possible I might even plant one of them today. Just so excited about it. Starting with this one, at first glance I thought, is that a laurel? But it's an Enkianthus. I am not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. In fact, let me give you that disclaimer right in the beginning. Plant pronunciations can be hard, but the variety is Jan Eisley Pink. It grows about 6 feet tall, 4 feet wide, and it gets clusters of like these pink bell-shaped flowers. And then apparently the fall color is amazing. Like a whole bunch of different shades of yellow to orange to red. I'm really looking forward to trying this one. It's got a really cute shape right now. And this one is a zone 5. The next cute little pine right here, isn't this the sweetest thing? Let me see if I can pull it out a bit. It's got a really cute shape. I love the deep green needles. This one is a Bosnian pine called Irish Bell. And this one stays small, 8 feet tall by 6 feet wide. So one of those for smaller landscapes where you want that pine evergreen interest, but you can't, fit like a huge Scotch pine or, one of those great big ones. It's nice to have these options that stay a lot smaller. This one also is a zone 5, and it grows up to like 1/2 foot, so 6 inches a year. And it takes on, in the end, kind of a bell shape, which is where it gets its name, Irish Bell. This next one is really neat and something that I have never grown before. It's really soft. It's called a Cumulus Sawara cypress. I hope these like our area. These stay 1.5 feet tall by 1.5 feet wide, and there are 3 of them here, but they take on kind of a puffy cloud appearance, and they kind of feel like that too. There's nothing prickly about this one, and they've got kind of a bluish green tint to them. And these are hardy, I think, to zone 4. They don't grow super fast either, 1 to 3 inches per year, but they're gonna reach full size here pretty quick since they don't get very big. I think that's the biggest thing about Eisley's evergreens. They do have a lot of them that get really big, but they have a ton of selections. Like if you get on their website, I could spend hours on their website, and I do every single winter, even though I've looked at their website like not a million times, 1,000 times. There's just so many unique evergreens that stay really small. They just give so much options for those tighter spaces. And even when you have space to put big things, you still need that small evergreen element as well, so that you have multiple layers of that evergreen winter interest throughout the garden. This next one is called Tidy Tim, and I love the itty bitty needles that this one has. It gives it such a delicate appearance. It grows 4 by 4, so it stays in a nice tight globe shape, and it is a zone 4. But I love, one, the tiny needles, because it's a different vibe than all the rest of these. It gives it more of a fine appearance texturally, but I also love the deep green that it has as well. This bright blue one, I don't even know, let's see. This one is a Monty Blue. The bluest, it says the bluest blue spruce. I could kind of believe that. Look at how that shines. It's amazing, like just even in evergreen winter interest, how different you can get things to look. Now this one, oh, another small one, 8x6, yay! Blue spruces I think are even harder to find that stay smaller. Grows 3 to 6 inches per year, hardy to zone 4, undaunted by harsh conditions and virtually effortless once established. Perfect. That's gorgeous. This next one, I love the tall, slender growth on this one. It's called Big Berta. It's a type of Alberta spruce, but it's not as tight as your typical one. And it's been crossed with a type of blue spruce, a Montgomery blue spruce, making the needles longer and it grows faster. And I think that it's going to be a really neat one to watch grow. It can grow almost a foot a year and it's hardy to zone 2. My word. The next one right here kind of looks like the Tidy Tim, but the needles are actually a little bit longer and it's, I would say, even softer. This one is a Blaze Norway spruce. It grows about 8 feet tall by 6 feet wide. So again, another smallish one, zone 3, and its new growth is bright red. And maybe we can find a picture of that, but they look like they're in flower when they're pushing new growth. They're amazing. Oh, this looks like a Mugo pine. Pesto? Yeah. Oh my, look at that. That's a total round mat. How funny. Variety is Pesto. It grows 1 foot tall by 3 foot wide. Zone 2, right? -50. My goodness. And the buds on this have kind of a purple hue, it says, which will be really neat. I've never heard of this variety before. Oh, hello, dude. Hey, Russell. This next one looks like a total underwater plant. It looks like it belongs in the sea, and it's a type of arborvitae. And Paul was mentioning as we were unloading, he's like, these look fake. They're like so unique and so dense and so perfect throughout that they do kind of have that appearance, but they have kind of that coral, or I don't know, kind of like they have that movement underwater vibe to them. Okay. I see you, Russell. They're a primo arborvitae. They grow about 4 feet tall, 1 foot wide. This is going to be fun. There are actually 3 of these. So there's 1, 2, and then there's a third one tucked in down there. Zone 4, and I think these would be really fun in containers. Then we've got another saguaro cypress called Blue Moon. Again, very soft. These look like they would be pokey like a juniper is, but they're not. Like you can dig around in there. It doesn't hurt at all. They're so super soft. Now this one clearly has a more blue tint than the last one we looked at, the Cumulus, and it grows a little bit bigger. So this one 4x4, and it is hardy down to zone 4. It grows like 3 to 5 inches per year is what they say. I love this next one. This is a blue Korean cedar right here. Look at how gorgeous the color is on that and the structure. Oh, I really want to plant this one today because it's so gorgeous, but I think this around the pond would look so pretty. And this is a more medium to large size. It grows 20 feet tall by 15 feet wide, so you do want to make sure you site it somewhere it can do that, where you don't have to prune on it so it can maintain that beautiful airy appearance. I love that they give growth rates on the tag, 12 to 15 inches per year. Zone 4, it says this unique specimen needs ample moisture and should be planted in full sun, but will appreciate afternoon shade in hot climates, which is probably something I should consider. The water part is easy because we do drip, so we can just add an extra emitter, but maybe we'll site this somewhere where it can be protected a little bit in the afternoon, which means maybe it doesn't go by the pond because that's a full sun area. I just love that though. These, gorgeous. This next one is, oh my goodness, one I've never heard of. Moonstone Globe Spruce. So it's called the Blues Collection. So it says the bluest. This one has really thick needles. Like the texture is really interesting on this one. Like versus your Montgomery blue spruce, which kind of has the same sort of shape, that this one has a very much more bold appearance. This one grows 2 foot tall by 3 foot wide, perfect, hardy to zone 2. Oh, so that's like full size. That's awesome. And you see how like those branches are naturally kind of going down. That'd look cool if it was like gracing a rock around the pond, you know, kind of like hugging it a little bit. I think that would be neat. Here's another beautiful blue upright evergreen. 20 by 15 is what this one grows. It is a Pacific blue Macedonian pine. Silvery blue, like kind of bicolor blue-green needles. It's a zone 4 and it can grow over a foot a year. But that is beautiful. I'm gonna switch it around here so we can see growth structure on both sides. It's got kind of like, not a weeping habit, but sort of, I don't know, it's really interesting. And then we've got the most glorious birch tree. This one's called Cinnamon Curls. It's a dwarf Korean birch. If we come in close, you can see that peely bark with that cinnamon coloring. I love it. And here's the tag, let's see. I can't remember how big it gets. 15 by 12, so medium sized, zone 4. Tolerates higher pH soil. You guys know that any plant that can tolerate higher pH is one that I can get behind, because we struggle with that and we typically deal with chlorosis and things that can't handle our higher pH. So this is amazing. So the interesting part about this one, you can see down here that the bark is actually more of a white, and when it peels off, it exposes that more cinnamon color underneath. And this one's huge to start off with. It's even in one of those wood boxes. That's fun. And this last one, this is a bristlecone pine, you guys. These are really an amazing pine. They've got a little bit shorter needles. This one kind of has that bicolor green blue. It's called Joe's Bess bristlecone pine, and it stays 6 by 4 in kind of that conical shape. This one is a zone 4, and they say that this is probably one of their most refined pine trees. Like, it's got the most elegant growth habit. It's a very slow grower and it's very difficult to propagate. So it's one of those, like, to get it this size already, I feel really lucky right now. I'm so excited about it. So that wraps up the Eisley load. What an amazing way to start off the day, you guys. And the breeze is wonderful. It's supposed to get 96 today. Now, all of these like full sun, except for that Korean cedar. I'll probably pop that into the high tunnel so it doesn't get blasted with the afternoon sun. However, we do have all of these positioned on the east side of the high tunnel right here. So they do get some protection really late in the day, but this is pretty exposed all day. So I'll pop that one in, but all of these other ones want full sun. Let's just move this in right now. Here it will sit. There's a couple other plants that we just recently picked up. I've showed you in a recent video that are also from Eisley. Like, this one is the Ginkgo Everton Broom. And then I have another spruce out here. It's the Bush's Engelmann Lace. This one right here. Isn't that a stunner? Love that. I think it's easy this time of year to kind of forget about winter interests because there's so many beautiful things blooming. You know, all of the midsummer, mid to late summer things are just starting to come into their own, and there's just so many beautiful things. In fact, the garden center just got a brand new load of perennials in yesterday. I'm gonna go check those out here soon, but you know, they'll be full of echinacea and Russian sage and coreopsis and geums and things like that, and geraniums that are blooming beautifully right now. So it's easy to kind of overlook the things that are not blooming, but they are all so beautiful and they add so much interest to the landscape, and you will thank yourself, you know, come winter months, if you live in an area like we do where everything just kind of like goes away and most everything is brown. So to have these things in place and to continually keep that in the forefront of your mind when you're planting, it's well worth it. While we are out here, I did want to give you an update today on how all of our crops are doing. So completely changing the subject here, but I wanted to show you all the sunflowers and corn and potatoes, all of those things, just to give you an idea of where their growth is this time of year, so mid-July. We'll start here with the vine crops, which you can see Paul and Bethany, bless them, they came out and cleaned the weeds from in between the rows. It's nice to see everything. You know, Aaron came through and he mowed this side. We can't fit the mower in between the rows, unfortunately. Had we thought about that, we would have spaced them a little bit wider. I came through and weeded this area not long ago, but Aaron, you know, he mowed these things down, which I totally would have done between the rows had we thought about it. We learn a lot every year on how to make things a little bit better. So next year, if we're doing this exact same thing, which likely we'll just be gardening these 2 rows again, we will till up a space just a little bit wider. But they're looking good so far. I found our first squash bugs night before last on the Cinderella pumpkin. We'll go check it out. But you know what? They're looking great. This row, it's interesting. This row is looking way more green than this row. This one looks way more yellow. I don't know what the deal is. And these, like the last ones, want to wilt a lot faster, but this is the one I found squash bugs on. And I inspected every other plant and I found squash bugs here. And then of course I found like one or two, it was two on this one, its neighbor. And I squished everything. I looked at every single leaf. It took a long time. I looked at every leaf and squished any eggs. I didn't find any eggs or anything down here. It was mostly concentrated on the Cinderella pumpkin. You know, if you can find them early and you can squish them, and I know that's not always the feasible thing to do time-wise and all that, you really can get after the population. I don't see any this morning, which is awesome. I'm gonna be checking them diligently at this point. I knew they would probably show up at some point, I just didn't know when. And we're planning to take the same approach as we did last time. So we did spinosad, the Captain Jack's dead bug, and diatomaceous earth, which works for us here because we don't have a lot of rainfall. So the diatomaceous earth, if we go out and you know, spread it once or twice a week, and then we keep up with that Captain Jack's dead bug once a week for maybe like 3 weeks in a row. Last year we didn't have a problem after I first spotted them, so we're just going to take that same approach. The plants will look white, you know, they'll have that white diatomaceous earth all over them, but it's such a like an easy way to take care of the squash bugs without hurting your pollinators and not having to spray a ton. The Captain Jacks we usually spray late in the evening, and it doesn't have a strong residual, so it's not gonna hurt like some other sprays can hurt. So anyway, I feel like that has been a really good approach for us, other than hand picking. And again, you have to get on that early. You can't, if there's a huge population of them already, I mean, definitely kill whatever you can find, because it will help for sure, but it's a lot harder once the population has exploded, and they explode so fast. But there's some exciting things forming up. Look at that. This one is, ooh, the speckled hounds. These are so pretty. Now this one is like particularly healthy. This one's a snowball. They're like a medium-sized white pumpkin, and they're putting on fruit. Exciting. Next up, we have our corn. This is the ambrosia bicolor sweet corn. It's a 75-day. We did come through. I got the rows thinned for the most part. See, maybe I missed the end of this one. That's looking pretty thick. But they're very healthy, looking really good. And stepping back a little bit, all of our tomatoes are doing great. The Bellini tomatoes, which are a cocktail type tomato, they've already been producing for a couple of weeks now. And that's these 4 right here. I've picked quite a number of these tomatoes already. And there's a whole bunch more. Like today I could come out and get a small basket full. Yeah, see, look at this one right here. Whole bunch of tomatoes. This one has a whole bunch ready to be picked as well. And the rest of the tomatoes, they're just loading up. We have like just tons and tons of Russell keeps brushing on my arm. So sorry if the camera's super shaky, but yeah, they're just producing and setting a ton of fruit here. Got some Romas going there. Oh, we got some bindweed in this one. Nice. Not. Yeah, look in here. So many beautiful tomatoes. And then right after the corn, I need to come out here and do a little weeding, but I had some leftover artichoke plants that we popped in late. So these may not produce, which is okay. It's kind of an experiment. But the other thing in this area are sweet potatoes. These are actually a yam right here. These came from Johnny's really late in our season. I actually forgot I ordered them. So I just popped them out here. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of the 7. It was supposed to be a bundle of 25. There were only 15 of them. They looked like they were about ready to die. And so 7 of them took, which, you know, given the fact that I forgot they were even coming, 7 is better than not having them out here. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. Here are the Rosella hibiscus, which they put on quite a bit of growth since we put them out here. These are the type of hibiscus that you harvest the calyx after the bloom, and you use them for teas and things like that. It's just an interesting plant to grow. We started these from seed. Oh my gosh, look. Look. Oh, so gorgeous. And all of these plants, if you get in there, there's tons of produce forming up. Look at that. Oh, and I'm taking the hands-off approach this year. I'm not really pruning them until they get so big that I can't walk between them. Then I'll start clipping branches off of them. But I want to say that they usually produce better for me if I just leave them alone. Oh, we've got some beautiful heirlooms forming up here. Our sunflowers are looking great. You know, for the corn over there and for these sunflowers, we used that cedar Can't remember the brand. Was it a Chapin? Or, yeah. Anyway, it worked beautifully. Look at this. Oh, pretty. This is the variety called Buttercream, and you can see more blooms coming. Might be our first one to bloom. Look at this row though, you guys. Look at how gorgeous that is. If you need an annual hedge with some height, sunflowers are the way to go. Do I see color down here though? Maybe? Oh, I bet you those are pro-cut plums. They're usually my first one to bloom. But we gotta backtrack a bit. The peppers are doing amazing. Hot and heavies always look like this. They are always loaded with fruit all through the entire season. And you can see some that are ready to roll. I need to come out here. But all of these are loaded up. I mean, these are, let's see, we've got a whole bunch of different kinds. These are the sugar kick. These are a sweet pepper. And then we've got like, look at the jalafuego plants. Look at how many peppers there are. I need to pick these and give some of them to Monica. We've got a whole bunch of bell peppers. A whole bunch. Some great big ones. I don't know what it is about this soil because it looks like this soil would not grow anything. It's so white and powdery. But bell peppers in particular, well, all peppers, they do really well here. I do think they need consistency in water. And then I do amend the soil when we plant them. And as long as they get full sun and consistent water, we have nice thick-walled peppers. And they are sweet. I've grown them before in raised beds like in our old garden. And they were thin-walled and kind of bitter. So I'm really thankful that they grow in the ground so well here. Our potatoes, doing great. I've already been harvesting some from right underneath the plants. You can go in real carefully and loosen the soil right around the perimeter, like underneath the plant, but a little bit away from the base of the plant. And you can kind of feel around in that soil. Oftentimes, like we tilled this area up, so the soil's fairly loose under it already. And you can feel those little potatoes. They're never really like that big at this point because these plants, you know, they're still looking pretty fresh and healthy. They're starting to show signs of maybe starting to want to die back, and we'll wait until they yellow and die back quite a lot because that's at the point when your potatoes are ready to harvest. But you can be harvesting them right along the way if you want to. Of course, those potatoes won't be underneath the soil sizing up, but you can eat them fresh from the ground right away or right after they start forming up. Yeah, pro-cut plum. Oh, I can't wait to see that one open. So pretty. And you know they're facing the sun right now in the morning, and then they face the sun in the afternoon. So you can see them from the lane right there. Moving along, you can see our cosmos here. I had a little bit of problems in this area. I don't know if I mixed all of my cosmos seeds up. So these must not have been watered properly or something. I don't know, or maybe they got weeded up. I might have done that. It's possible. Either way, these couple of plants will get big, that'll get big, and we'll just have a little spot where we can, you know, walk over. Kind of nice. On this side, we have sweet potatoes. These are the Beauregard, I think, and they're looking really nice and healthy. We planted, I think, 28 of those in the end. On this side, we have shallots. This is the Ed's Red shallot, and then we've got Zabroon shallots, and then we've got tags. These are the Newburgh onions here. We've got yellow sweet Spanish, we've got Walla Walla, and candies. These are the marigolds we started from seed, and the clary sage we started from seed as well. And those were the seed from the Monticello Gardens that one of you guys sent out. Close up of the sweet potato, look at that. Oh, they look so fresh. And these are fun. Nice bright pop out here. And these are forming up nicely. Not ready to harvest yet, but we're getting some size on them. These are the candies. And this clary sage is gorgeous. It's a beautiful filler in cut flower arrangements, and the pollinators like it. And it's just a really pretty, easy plant to grow. And here's a look from this end at everything going on down there. It's such a hot time of year, but it's such a fun time of year too. It's so exciting to see all the work you put in earlier coming to fruition, starting to harvest things and kind of reap the benefit of that work. So I don't know, I'm really, really happy with this area. All right, so at this point I need to go water the greenhouse, get some of my other chores done, and then we're gonna run out and plant a couple things. All right guys, I got all my watering done. We're gonna be working in this space right here where we recently planted a bunch of shade-loving plants. Are doing really well. And then we've got some beautiful heuchera and Acorus ornamental grasses to put in this area as well. New plants first, and then we'll just do a little walkthrough. It's looking so good, even with all of our heat. But the first one here, this is an Acorus Ogon, or sweet flag is the common name, and grows 10 inches tall, 6 inches wide, zone 5, and they kind of grow with this interesting like outward like poof sort of pattern. and they just have a brightness about them. Now the text says sun to part sun, but I find that they do pretty well for us in shady locations, and then they don't tend to burn. But look at the grass, the green with the yellow. In a shady area like this, they just really show up, kind of like a Hakanakloa, but you can see all those like dead leaves down there. I need to groom every single one of these grasses. These came out of our spring kitchen window box. In fact, they're in a menagerie of pots because we just found whatever we could to repot them. They've been chilling in the greenhouse since we planted the window box up for summer. So it's really fun to finally be able to get these in the ground and use them for the second time. I love it when we can do that. You know, if you know there's a space out in the garden that you want a specific perennial, you can always use it in a container first and enjoy it that way, and then plant it out in the garden. That way you kind of take care of one of your seasons of container planting, and you get your perennial in the ground at the same time-ish. Now this is a newer heuchera. These we wintered over in our greenhouse, so I think they're going to be really happy to be out of their containers. But these are the ones called dressed up ball gown. Right there, get it all the way in the shade, 10 to 12 inches tall, and 28-inch spread. And they do prefer shade to part shade. The thing I love about this one, I like the bright chartreuse color, but I also like the blooms are like a creamy white. It's just a really pleasant look. Now we're putting those in with this Japanese maple, which I had some of them in here last year, and then we had to move the pot. It was exposed more than normal. Only one of them came back. So I am going to fill up this whole thing with the same, and it will be, I'm also going to run drip to it. So we should have more consistency this year, and it should be a lot happier. But everything right here, even with our 100-degree temperatures and the wind we've had, everything's doing really well. Like on this side, we planted the Stonehenge Dark Druid yews, and these have been in the ground. Let's see, when did we plant this? Seems like it's been maybe 3-4 weeks ago. We do so many projects this time of year that I kind of get lost as to when it actually happened, but they've been in the ground for a while now. We also planted this Red Dragon Japanese maple, and it's kind of perfect because you can see it's in the shade and it's protected pretty much all day, but it gets to be right next door to Russian sage, which needs full sun to be productive. And there's also some yarrow here and some sedum. I love that when you can put a shade plant like the hosta 2 right next to those sun lovers. These hostas in here are the Miss America variety, and I think they're perfect. In fact, I would love to be able to put like 3 more in here, but you see it gets a little bit more sunny over here, and I just don't think that they would love that. I think they would burn in this spot. So I need to do something that's more, that can handle more sun just in this little area. The Gatsby Gal hydrangeas were already here. This one's still looking like it's struggling. I did some iron that day, but it's looking like almost kind of wilted and a little bit unhappy, but it has put on a whole bunch of new growth. So we're just giving it time. We've tested the water, everything's working, and it is putting on bloom, so we'll see. This one looks much happier. Look at that. They are so gorgeous, you guys. Ugh. And then the 9 bark, we did plant that, and we've since planted, you know, a bunch of annuals in this area, but another glorious patch of Russian sage here. And then on this side, just a ton of hostas, a ton of different varieties. We've got some snowflake hydrangeas, which when I planted them, they were probably one of the punier root balls I've seen in a while. Like little slender stems coming up out of the soil, and then when I took the can off of the plant, the root ball just fell apart. Like they were really shallow, which really was nice because I could not dig very deep in this area. I was really kind of nervous for these plants, thinking I had to cut the fern root balls in half to get them to fit around roots that were, you know, so close to the surface. And I didn't know exactly what I would find underneath this ash tree, and I was so careful to not break. I had like a small handful, little bundle of roots that I had gone through in this entire planting process, so I was happy about that. I think the tree is fine. But I think that they have strengthened up. I think they've rooted in. Look at these blooms. They are so pretty. Oh my gosh. And they're huge. And I'm thinking, you know, after they have a chance to get some less wimpy stems, they'll be able to hold those flowers up a little bit better, because we don't want a weeping hydrangea here, and I don't think it will be. The heucherellas are looking great right there. I love those, and I like how big of a kind of drift we were able to do right there. More hostas over here. Those are the cocoa mint heucheras we used along with the Acorus Ogon that we're going to be planting today. In fact, I'm thinking about just planting it around kind of in this area right here. They looked beautiful together in the window box. So I'm really happy with this whole space. So all we're going to do today is we're going to clean up those Acorus, we'll get them in the ground, and then we'll run drip to the big pot and plant the heucheras. Kind of the perfect day for some smaller projects in a shady spot. However, I got to show you these oak leaf hydrangeas on the other side. You can see we're stepping into the sun here. Right over here we planted more of the Gatsby hydrangeas, and they're in sun for a good part of the day. And I always thought oak leaves needed shade for more, and I do think they need more shade than your paniculata or even your arborescens type, but they're handling this beautifully. They're gorgeous. And so, you know, that's why I continued on the drift. That was one we planted last year too, and it's doing well. I need to trim out last year's blooms, but it's looking healthy, and so I'm hoping that that one grows up and fills in this space. And then I'm thinking about coming in here. There's another oak leaf there we need to give some iron to, but I'd love to pop another one here. And then we took out an evergreen right here. It's just too shaded for it. And I want to pop maybe 3 more in this space to fill in this gap. I've tried planting Amsonia like 3 times in this space and it dies every time. The phlox does really well though. Look at the opalescent variety. My goodness. Beautiful. Sometimes it's just trial and error, you know, sometimes things work really well, sometimes you struggle with them. It's kind of like the Amsonia, you know, I planted it there, didn't like it. I have some string theory Amsonia out in the south garden, full sun. It's doing really well, so who knows. I think I want to do the Acorus grass first, so let's get to grooming. This makes me want more grasses in this area. It's so pretty. Look at the brightness that it brought. And really, we needed that texture in here. Sometimes I don't even realize it until I do it and I'm like, yes, I need more of that. So, so pretty. How many of them are there? It looks like 9 altogether. And they just are such a petite grass that they squeeze in real nicely. And I kind of wanted to do that rather than make them all one big block of a drift like I've done with some things. There's other times where I kind of want to incorporate with several other things going on. Now in this area we have individual like half-inch black poly tubing for drip that does not have emitter holes. Instead of doing the brown drip tube and like really saturating the whole area, we decided to do individual water to individual plants so that we could target the water to the plants and not overload this tree. I didn't want to all of a sudden deluge excuse me, the roots of this tree and then have something go awry. And anyway, so I felt like that was maybe the better approach here. So I did run the drip to all the grasses as well, and I wanted to show you the pieces that I use. So this is what I'm talking about right here, the half-inch black poly. It's just solid, and then we use a coupler and we go into that water line and then we run an individual emitter to the plant. I think that's probably the most efficient way you can water, and you can use half gallon, 1 gallon, 5 gallon per hour emitters. And I think there's other ones too that even emit more water, and even quarter-inch dripper or quarter gallon drippers, depending on what you have and where you're at and how much water you need. And those things can all be adjusted. It's super easy to clip the old emitter off and put a different size one on the end if you feel like it's too much or too little water. So anyway, let me show you the parts. So this right here is the piece that goes into the half-inch poly, and then we put our quarter-inch piece on, kind of wiggle it on there. It's easier if it's been out in the sun. So, you know, you have to imagine that there's a black poly right here. And then we like these right here. I think this is I think it's Rainbird brand, but you can use Landscape Staples too. But if you do use these, you need to put it on before you put your emitter on. And I used 1 gallon per hour emitters in this case. So that's basically what the setup looks like. You've got your water source here, and then your 1/4 inch that takes it to the plant and emits the amount of water you need. And then this little stake here, I like to put it right up to the end, and then you can pound it into the ground. I used a mallet today. Sometimes I don't have to use one if the soil's soft enough, but it's pretty hard under this tree. So anyway, that just keeps it snug up to the root ball right where you want it. The other thing you need is a hole punch. This punches the hole into the 1/2 inch black poly so that you can put this one in. Then of course your felt goes to cut your stuff, your tubes. And I did get lucky because for 3 of these grasses, the supply line went right by the root ball. So I was able just to use the punch tool. I punched into the 1/2 inch black poly, and then I put my emitter straight into that. I didn't have to run this whole configuration to it. Okay, for this pot, this Japanese maple, we're gonna have to tap into the drip that's running along the bottom of the boxwoods. And it'll be interesting. Erin and I were just talking about the fact that we put the drip under the boxwood hedge about 5 years ago, and it's doing really well, thankfully. Typically our hard water plugs everything up. So anyway, I think it will be interesting to see how the water flows into this Japanese maple pot, to see if, you know, it's plugged up at all or if the water still runs just fine. It must run fine because the boxwoods are doing so great. But anyway, we will have a 1/4 inch black tube coming up the side of the pot, just because I don't think at this point I would be able to get it through the drain hole in the bottom. But I'm gonna run the drip first, and then we will plant the heucheras in here. And that's it. This is pretty easy. Oh, there we go, all done. It looks so much better to have it filled up, and I think all of these plants will benefit from having the consistent water and really from being out of their containers. I did plant them all the way out to the outer rim of the pot to give the Japanese maple the roots. I didn't want to break into those too much, but it wasn't hard digging. It was easy to get them in there. For the drip, I had to reach about this far into the boxwood hedge to find it. So I tapped into that, and then I tacked it down underneath the mulch in a couple spots. You can see the landscape staple right there. Tacked it down, and you know, we try to avoid having drip lines going up, but honestly, it doesn't really matter in this case. It's tucked in pretty well. And then I attached the 1/4 inch brown drip tubing that has the emitter holes every 6 inches. I went around twice. In fact, I started by just going once around the pot, and then I thought, no, this drip line or this drip zone, actually all our drip zones only go every other day now, not every day like I'm used to. So I decided to add a little bit of extra tubing to the end of it, just to make sure that this one gets soaked enough. And I'm again going to be watching this, and I can always clip emitters off if I need to and make it shorter. But today was kind of about bringing a bright spot to this area, both with the grasses, Benjamin's been helping me out, and with these heuchera. And you guys, that is going to do it for today. It was a really fun day starting off with that load from Eisley. Oh, I'm just so excited to plant those things. And I did initially think I was going to plant one of those things today, but I'm going to have to control myself. I really want to have all the options for around the pond. I know some of them are going to go in the ground before we start that project, but my intention is to keep as many of them as options as I can. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope you're having a great day, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.